And it wasn't necessarily like the drinking that bothered me.
Yeah, it was the behavior that came while I was doing that.
Look at just how much alcohol you were consuming just on a daily basis. Welcome back to another episode of Trash is Full. We are your hosts, Jackie and Wes. Things might look a little bit different this week. We got a different setup. We're forced to do it remotely with Wes being on the road. So fingers crossed that we don't have any technical difficulties.
100% sure that we will.
Get through this. And it looks and sounds halfway decent.
We will see. So, and unfortunately, so this episode, we are basically re-recording an episode that we already freaking did because the audio didn't record at all. And I have no idea why. So,
yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? We'll just do it again. Yeah. So, but this episode is, unfortunately for some of you, is going to be a Wes episode. And we are going to be talking about something that we've alluded to a few times in previous episodes, and that is my alcohol issues.
Alcohol issues. Alcoholism.
I don't know. Do you think it's alcoholism?
No, I don't think it was.
What is that?
I think line? I don't know. I'm sure there is a clinical definition for it, but my thought on it was that you need alcohol to function like throughout the day.
Like a dependency.
Yeah, like you need it to get up and go to work. Like you know what I mean? Like you need it in order to function. That's how much your body and your brain like have become addicted to it, is that It cannot function normally without that substance.
I don't know if
I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if I thought about it that severe. That's a clear case.
Right.
I just wondered if it's like, if you want to stop, but you can't. Like, if you wanted to just go sober for X amount of days and you just can't. Or maybe that's a dependency. Maybe there's variations in a spectrum and all that.
Yeah. It's quite possible.
All I know is that I had problems.
The alcohol was creating problems in our marriage.
Yeah, well, it was me.
That's really, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's not like you had problems at work, problems with friendships. Do you know what I mean? That's just my perspective of it, but I feel like it only caused rifts like between us. It didn't really affect any other aspect, really.
Yeah, or at least I could justify that it didn't. So we can, we can take it back. So we kind of started together in high school, right? Mm-hmm. And in high school, I was pretty straight laced.
You're goody two shoes.
Yeah. I had tried alcohol. Just like I think a normal
teenager does.
Yeah. But yeah, I did not condone, underage drinking. I did not look up to folks that did that. I didn't think that was cool. I thought it was kind of sad and embarrassing. And then we broke up my senior year.
Yeah.
And then I kind of because I spent all my time either at school, in sports, at work with you. And now I had a gap. I had no more with you.
You had some free time.
Yeah. So I filled it. By just, on my senior year, starting to taste like I'm about to be an adult. I'm going to do adult things. And that's when I would start to drink and party. And then nothing crazy. Just like start to try it.
Yeah, normal teenage stuff, I would say.
And then that carried into my college years where I went hard. I joined a fraternity like right away. I don't think that really, I don't know, maybe it did. I was already doing it, not being in a fraternity, but I think that became my identity. It was like, I'm going to party. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I only want to hang out with people that party.
That's why you go to college, right?
Well, that's what my dumbass thought. And here's something else that really so knowing that we were going to have a baby, I should have been like, oh, I'm going to have a baby. I'm 18. I should probably take this shit serious and get a degree. And it'll be harder than everyone else has it. But that's what I should do. Instead, I was like, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have to drop out anyway. I'm going to have some fun.
Yeah.
Hindsight, stupid. But that's where my mindset was.
Right. Yeah. You were 18. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. An idiot. And then here's the craziest shit. School year ends. I have no plans of going back, even if they would have taken me.
They might not have.
And I was like, okay, baby time. Boom, let's do this. I go get a manual labor job. And without thought, it didn't even have to ponder this. I just didn't drink anymore.
Yeah. Well, for one, I'm not sure how easily you could have accessed it anyways.
Small town, I could have.
Maybe. But also, who wants to at that point when you've got, a new baby, like a lot of changes, a lot of transitions. I don't know.
If I would have kept the same mindset of, oh, I'm having a baby, woe is me, I'm going to do...
I'm just going to keep partying.
Yeah. Or use alcohol as a coping mechanism because I'm like, oh no, it's a lot of stress. But for whatever I think the reason is clear, but it's just strange how I was this way and then the next day I was this way with no thought. I was just like, okay, I'm a dad now. Boom. We had 2 kids by the time I was 21. Mm-hmm. Joined the military. Took it very serious. And then when I found myself having free time, I don't know what changed. Just the environment. I was hanging around people because when we just had a baby, I just worked and worked and worked. 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I'd take all the hours they could give me. Yeah. So.
Well, I think too, again, you were away from us for a while because you were doing training. So it was almost like, you didn't really have a family anymore, or right. You know what I mean? And then also you were hanging out with, most of the people that were in the military with you were all young kids, you know what I mean? 18, 19-year-olds, they didn't have kids. They didn't have a family to support. Mm-hmm. So they could do, they could act like teenagers and do that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? And you kind of just fell right back into that.
Yeah, we're staying in dorms again. Like
Yeah, it's all, it's like you're back in college pretty much, you know.
And the tough part for me is, especially at that time, other people's opinions, thoughts of me, praise, validation. Like that's how I judged myself. I didn't really, not say I didn't have any self worth, but I fed off of that, and I am a fun drunk, and so I got a lot of, people liked having me around. You know what I mean? Life at the party, and I did good in school. Like during my training, I did good in my job. I just didn't do good at the most important part of being a husband and being a father. And so being a young, dumb, selfish guy, I was like, no one else has a problem. In fact, everyone thinks I'm awesome except you. So you must be the problem.
Yeah, you're the one who's got it wrong. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit.
No, you didn't.
And that was also the time where, because we're from a small town, and I didn't do much traveling or have exposure to really any other culture. And so now I am 3,000 miles away from where I grew up. I'm studying with people that come from all over the country, some really smart folks. And I'm also learning about other cultures, languages, like everything was new to me.
Yeah.
And talking to some of those folks who, whether they were younger or older, they had different life experiences than me. And we started talking about, how we grow up, and then, what their education was like. And then I start diving into like existentialism and stoicism, and like that shit was very new to me. I'd never even really pondered the question of like, what is life all about? And I'd come to the determination at that time that nothing mattered. We're all going to die. Which, I don't know, I still think is kind of true. But instead of being like, nothing matters,
So
we're all going to
negative.
die. Well, and here's the switch. Like, that's how I was. Now I'm more of like, yeah, we're all going to die. Nothing really matters. So go ahead and choose what matters to you, because you're alive until you're dead. I didn't have that last part. I was just like, I'm going to do whatever I want, because who gives a shit, right? And just spiraled. And we'd moved multiple times within the next, 4, 5, 6 years. And again, was doing great at work. I had people who liked me. Only people that didn't like what I was doing, well, really was you.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily like the drinking that bothered me.
Yeah, it was the behavior that came while I was doing that.
It was the choices that you were making while you were intoxicated.
Yeah.
You would stay out all hours of the night. And I feel that that's not really appropriate when you have a wife and small children at home. I mean, that might be okay in other relationships and marriages, but just like personally, that was not something that I was okay with, especially when it happened so frequently. It wasn't like once a year kind of thing. Like, oops, I, drank too much and I stayed over at a friend's house. It was a constant, like every weekend.
Yeah.
You were choosing your time off from work to go be with those other people and drink, basically. It wasn't to spend time with your wife and kids. It was, I'm going to go do fun stuff.
It seems like such a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. I couldn't get there mentally.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
If just our relationship just wasn't like strong enough back then.
Well, it wasn't. And behavior like that certainly doesn't help strengthen that relationship.
Right.
I think you knew how to tell me that you weren't happy, but I don't think I would have listened to anybody.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like maybe I didn't articulate my thoughts and feelings probably in the best way. I probably came at you pretty aggressively.
Well, yeah, I was ready to defend whenever you.
Yeah, like I was just, on the
But
attack.
rightfully so. You know what I mean?
Yes, but I mean, who wants to listen to that?
That wasn't going to change my behavior. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, just stupid shit. I was spending money we didn't have on alcohol.
It was a lot. Yeah.
I would drink like a fifth a night.
Yeah, easily. And like sometimes it would just be when you were like at home, like in the evenings. Do you know what I mean?
By myself.
Like just, like, okay.
Very goal oriented. So that was results driven.
And I would just like look at just how much alcohol you were consuming just on a daily basis. I was just wow.
It's bananas. And somehow, I don't know how, but I never got arrested. I never went to jail. I still have my wife intact. Like, there are times where I look back and I'm like, I deserved way more punishment for just crazy shit that I did.
Yeah. I don't know what that said about me back then. Definitely had lower self-esteem and lower self-worth then. And I was still, a stay-at-home mom. I was going to school. I didn't have any skills or education yet. You know what I mean? Like I relied on you pretty heavily to provide for me and the kids. And I understand that, yes, we could have divorced and separated and I could have, got child support and all that. But it definitely probably wouldn't have surmounted to what, how we were living.
Right.
Being together. Do you know what I mean? So, but if you like just thinking about all the stuff that you did then, if you would do that now, I mean, granted, I'm a stay-at-home mom again, but I know that that's not okay. I'm not crazy for thinking that behavior is not okay. And so I feel more comfortable like speaking up sooner and then leaving if your behavior didn't change. Like I wouldn't stick around just because.
And to your point, like you were dependent on someone who was unreliable. But the reason was because, we had mouths to feed, but you didn't have this like skills on paper to be able to support that financially.
Yeah.
So let that be a lesson to everyone. Make sure that you are employable, even if, you're staying at home for a season.
True. Yeah.
I heard a good analogy today, or I don't know if it's an analogy, but it's kind of a thought. Like education is like the one thing that can't be taken from you. Like the government can't come and seize it. You can't lose it in a divorce. No one can sneak in and steal it. Can't accidentally misplace it. Like once you got that, that's yours. That's like, it's like one of the only things. thought that was an interesting thought.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. So, and I think that probably, like, your drinking and your behavior was probably a big motivator for me to kind of keep doing what I'm doing. And like, all right, I gotta do something.
You see, I inspired you.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, I look back on that time with a lot of regret. Just knowing how our relationship is now with one is because I like myself now. And so now I'm someone who's capable of giving and receiving love. I didn't have that ability.
Right. So you think you had to go through kind of those growing pains? But maybe,
I don't know if it had to be so severe.
Yes,
you know?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe not to that point.
Yeah. And at the same time, I was young and, I'm not placing any blame on anyone, but, it's my dad's side of the family drinks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that. It was a nightly thing. And I kind of did it the way they did it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
But I was old enough to realize, like, hey, I have a wife at home who is unhappy. So there's no blame to pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how I look back at it. And so, what, 5, 6, 7 years of that chaos, you finally had enough.
Yeah, I was probably closer to almost a decade of it.
Yeah.
It was close. Yeah. Kind of just came to a head one night when we had Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
We had friends over. It was a lot of fun. And of course, there was drinking. You mean, you and I both, right? But I had a really big day the next day. I was, working toward becoming a teacher. The next morning, I was about to go to the school and start, actually student teaching. And it was a big deal, First impressions are a big thing, especially in the teaching world. You never know. Everybody knows each other in that world. And so I wanted to make the best first impression because, my future career kind of depended upon it. And so kind of, the game was over. Things were starting to wind down. I was like, all right, let's end this. Let's go to bed now. And you weren't having it. You were like, no, like, I'm keeping this going.
Yeah.
So you were outside, you were across the street at the neighbors. Like, it was so much going on. And I finally was able to get you to come to bed, but you'd gotten so intoxicated that you were up pretty much all night, like throwing up in the bathroom. And I just remember laying there and I was so furious. I was so furious at you. I was like, how could he do this? He knows what, I'm sure I had talked about it, like, oh, I'm so excited and I'm anxious about tomorrow. And you know what I mean? Like, you've had to have known that this was a big deal for me.
Right.
And for you to behave that way and to keep me up past when I was comfortable staying up because I wanted to get a good night's sleep. I was like, no, it's like, I'm like, this is it. I'd finally felt comfortable in myself to be like, this is enough is enough. And so pretty sure the next day I told you, I was like, look, you either stop or, me and the kids are gone. And so
that was it.
Yeah, that was the ultimatum that made you be like, wow. And you took it really seriously because you quit drinking like altogether for an entire year.
Yep. Yeah, that sobered me up real quick. It was perfect timing too, because at some point, I think in everyone's life, especially who's, finds themselves dependent on anything, you start hating yourself for that dependency, and you don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
And so I was having thoughts like that, and then you're like, hey, you have to change or this is all over. So it was like perfect timing for me. Like if you would have told me 2 years before that same sentiment, I don't know if I would have been, if I would
Ready
have
to do
changed.
it. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I think about that sometimes, like what your life would have been like, what my life would be like now had I chosen to leave earlier when it was a big problem for me then. Do you know what I
And
mean?
what do you see?
But I don't know. I just think I'm just curious. You know, in those movies, how it like shows you like
Or it splits?
if you took this path, like this is what your life would have been like. I just think like what would it have been like? Would I be happy with that choice, or would I have regretted it and been like, why didn't you stick it out? Why didn't you try to help him? Or do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know you thought about that. And that sucks too, because
Yeah.
I just made my problem your problem. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like now you're having these thoughts because of my inability to control myself.
Yeah, I don't know. You have a like an obsessive
Very addictive personality.
yes, like compulsion. Like once you find something that you like and interests you, like you go hard. You know what I mean? Like you have this tunnel vision. And that's kind of what it was like when you were drinking.
Yeah.
Like everything else was blacked out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that mindset has,
Served
I
you
think
well
it's,
in some areas.
yeah, I think it's a reason that, I do well. And like there were times, hope maybe I'll get back to that at some point, but where, I got really obsessed with, you know, eating correctly and working
Yeah.
out, and like, so there, that sort of personality, it can be helpful if it's used correctly.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes you almost get like burnt out on it or like bored with it. And then you're like,
Well,
you
yeah,
find
I mean,
something else. Something else. Oh, this is interesting now. I'm going to go
yeah,
all in on this.
I mean,
So
that's how I learned too, is something sparks my interest and I just live and
consume.
breathe it until I
Yeah.
feel like I've got it.
Yeah.
And then in that pursuit, something else has sparked my interest.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how it was when I was
So,
playing soccer growing up. That's how it was when I was playing music, or learning how to play. Like I just become consumed by it. And that is where I think that is what I think my real problem is not, I can't do moderation. I'm getting better because I've recognized that that's what I think my problem is. But I mean, that seems to come so natural to you. You're just like, I know when enough is enough. Like if you put 3 cheeseburgers on my plate, I'm going to try to eat all three. And you're going to eat one and you'll be like, I'm full. I'm like,
I'm going to save the others.
I
You're
think I'm
like,
going to eat the
no,
other.
I have to eat them.
Yeah. I'm going to eat all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just, I don't know if it's a genetic thing or if it's like a learned behavior or if it's a coping mechanism. I've just always been that way.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know if I've always been like that necessarily, but I feel like I've definitely gotten better at it. And yeah, just.
So yeah, I went a whole year, no alcohol. And I never made it my goal to quit forever. I made it my goal to quit for a year. And I was like, I need to get my shit together. And during that period is when I started to look into, that's when I started to look inward and kind of reflect on all the bad shit that I've done, how that made you feel, learning how to take ownership that I caused all those problems. That's when I started learning about, narcissism and I guess the difference between narcissism and just being selfish. Like I grew in that year, those 12 months, more than any other 12-month period in my life.
Yeah, no, I would agree that you made a lot of changes for the better in that year.
Yeah. And so I just had a birthday and it's my last year in my 30s. And I thought now might be a good time to go through that growth again. So I'm going to quit drinking this year and not drink again until I'm 40. When I'm old enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about the nicotine?
Oh boy.
I know you had talked about quitting that recently. And this is not the first time that you've tried to quit that.
So this is why I don't think I have. This is why I don't think I'm an alcoholic. Because I can quit drinking. Like I do that multiple times a year. I'll just be like, I think I'm doing it a little too much. Next month, no alcohol. And I'll just go 30 days sober and I'm cool. Like there are times where I'm like, oh man, it'd be cool to have a drink. But then I got no problem saying no. Nicotine? Bro, I need a plan. I need something.
You need a patch, a gum.
Because I have all the intentions. I have the desire. I know my why. I know all the reasons. Fuck if I can do it. I did that year that I quit drinking.
Did you
but
really?
But it wasn't. I think it was probably like 2 or 3 months in to that no drinking where I was like, I can do this too. I can stop. But yeah.
Do you remember why you started back up? Like what it was?
We started hanging out with people that smoke. And I'd be like, oh, it'd be cool, because that was the thing. So I quit drinking for a year and then I was like, okay, I did it. I reached my goal. And then I was like, I can drink again. I've got to set, limits and no liquor. Like I didn't drink liquor for probably 3 years, maybe more. And that was no problem with me. Like I'd have, 2 beers and I was gold. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just start. Maybe I can just like when we're hanging out with folks that are drinking and smoking, maybe I can just have like a black and mild. And then that was sufficient for, a couple months. And then it just turned in.
Yeah.
And just right back into
it. Yeah.
I think once you quit that shit, you can't dabble.
No.
If you truly have an addiction, yeah, you can't. And that's why I used to classify myself as like an alcoholic, but I don't know if I actually am. I think I had a problem with moderation and low self-esteem.
No, I think you wanted to fit in quick. You wanted to
Yeah.
make
Well,
friends.
that was the
You
easiest
wanted
way.
to. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that was the group that would welcome you the fastest. You know what I mean? It's not like you made friends with people in the military that also had families. Like those were few and far between.
Yeah, I don't want to hang out with those squares.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, no. Why would you want to do that? You have nothing in common with them.
Right. Boring. You ever hung around other people's kids? Makes you want to drink.
Yeah.
Joking.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, man, I'm just super lucky. Like, I never got hurt, never got in trouble. You're here.
Yeah. I wonder, you know what worried me the most about those times is like, I feared that you would get so drunk that you would do something. Well, like, I mean, it did happen. But I wonder how often it happened where you would get so drunk where you would do something and you wouldn't remember doing it. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I rarely had those. Well, that's not true. There would be moments. There would be moments in the night where I'd be like, I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, thinking back, I think that happened quite a bit.
Oh, great. Okay. That's what I'm saying. And then I would have to be around these people and they were probably looking at me like, oh my gosh, she has no idea that he did this or that this happened. Do you know what I mean? I felt like there was a lot of talk going on, like about you and about us, and that, or maybe it was just me being paranoid, or like. But I always felt like, someone's not telling me something, kind of thing. And if you don't remember doing it, it's not something that you can confess to and be like, babe, this happened.
Right.
And it's not like other people are going to come and say like, hey, this is something that happened, because they don't, they're your friends. They don't want to betray you in that way. But I always felt like some whispers were going on, and it may be stuff that you did that you're not even aware of because you would get so drunk.
Yeah. I do remember we didn't get invited to one of my friends' weddings.
Really?
And I asked, and they were like, this is why. Because you get too crazy and I'm not having you ruin my day. I love you and you're fun to hang out with, but this is my wedding and this shit's serious.
Oh, that wasn't a wake-up call for you? I was
hurt. But it wasn't very long after.
It was like, oh, okay, whatever, man.
No, that definitely shook me up. But it wasn't long after that when you were like, hey, here's the deal. So it was like all kind of building up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
I'll tell you who it is afterwards.
Okay, I'm curious.
But yeah, I was like, damn. That's the first time I've heard from someone else that this is a problem. So.
Yeah. Like, this day's about me. Can't have this fool.
Yeah, right.
Taking all my attention.
Yeah. And I know we've alluded to these issues in other episodes, but like, I have family that doesn't know what we just talked about, and people I work with or have met after those days, like
Well, I don't think it's something that you necessarily bring up unintentionally. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Unless you can relate it somehow to somebody else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, you're not just going to be like, hey, I drank a lot and really screwed things up in my marriage. They're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
But if they're sharing something and you can be like, yeah, I had a similar problem and I really wish I wouldn't have done it that way. So
It's more, usually I find if it does come up, it's usually, oh wow, like you guys have such a good marriage, or like you seem like a really good husband, or like your wife's lucky like that you're like that. Like I make sure that I tell them, hey,
oh my
I I'm only good now.
gosh.
I was
Yeah.
not then.
She was
And
not so lucky.
she is a saint. So
No. I've definitely could have done things differently, but yeah.
yeah. But I think as long as I keep remembering that I did all those things, that'll help keep me in perspective and in a lot of ways. But in our relationship, mainly, like I got a lot of making up to do. So you better fucking bring it. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if our kids know. Isn't that strange?
Well, I think it's because we definitely shielded them from our
I never let them see me drunk.
our nighttime activities.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would, they would be in bed before, anything like that, before any party or before,
Yeah.
we started drinking. That definitely, I feel like we were good parents in that aspect of where, we didn't want them witnessing a bunch of drunk, crazy people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's just
We always
our
we always would
belief.
clean up before we go to bed or before they wake up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we would always wake up before them, with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like we were sleeping till noon and they're just roaming around the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we tried
So I
to
guess I'm grateful
definitely.
for that. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll have to ask them, but I don't think they ever saw me. I mean, they've seen me drink, but they've never seen me drunk,
Yeah, like wasted. No.
which I haven't been like drunk in a long time.
That's been a
I've definitely
while.
been smiley face, but
Yeah.
even that scares me. Like when we go
Really?
out, and we, it's just a date night or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I'll have like 2 IPAs and I'll feel that tingle. Like, here we go, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, you're like, let's keep this party going.
yeah, when I start having those thoughts, I'm like, pack it up, buddy. You
Oh,
need to go home. And
interesting.
then that next morning, I'll usually have a headache, even if I get sleep. And that is usually what is the catalyst for, hey, for the next 30 days, no more. Like,
Oh,
because it's in there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
little dragon waiting to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that all too well, that feeling. Yeah. I think it's always going to be with you, unfortunately. But it's good that you're able to recognize, like, hey, I'm kind of getting to that point where
Yeah.
I could tip over the edge. Let me reel this back in. And
Yeah. I think the closest I've been is, we'll, like once a quarter or something, the management team, we travel somewhere and, we have, management type meetings and we're talking about the business and how we've done, in the past year, quarter, what our plans are for the future. And then we hang out afterwards. And I've gotten close. to being like just drunk. But like I'll start feeling that feeling and I'm like, no more. And I'll just carry a drink and not drink it, or I just switch to water for the rest of the night. So
yeah. No, it's been a really long time for me. Just having babies.
Yeah, you've had to be sober for 5 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and when you've got littles, I mean, you can't be drinking to the point where you pass out. You know, you gotta be able to hear them. And
no, it doesn't even sound appealing.
No, that sounds awful. I don't even know how we did it like back in the day.
It's young, babe.
Like the thought of like, being hungover now and chasing these 2 toddlers around. Oh, I'd much rather do anything else. There's no way. I think if I did it now, that would be the last time. Like I would be like, nope, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoy my wine. Don't really do like hard liquor. I don't know. It's kind of not my thing.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, you definitely did. I think you've.
Well, I mean, I appreciate like a good whiskey, a good bourbon. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Before it was like just drink whatever.
You like to sip and savor.
I do. I enjoy it. I do enjoy that, but I don't keep it in the house.
No, we don't. No, just our little box wine.
Box of wine, baby.
Box of wine is all you need. That's the best invention.
We'll get a couple beers from the brewery downtown, but that's about it.
That is about it.
I like for my birthday too. I'm like, I think I'm going to go sober for a year. And you're like, here's a 6-pack of beer and here's
half of that was for me.
Yeah. Well, you got all of it except one.
Oh yeah. Did I drink all of those? Oh, it wasn't a 6-pack, by the way. It was a 4-pack.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. I was going to say, I was like, there's no way I drank 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a 4-pack.
And then a brewery sweatshirt. I was like,
you have been wanting that sweatshirt, so
I like it, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, the irony in it.
Yeah,
like I'm not drinking anymore. I'm like, here's a bunch of alcoholic merch. Here's a reminder that you're not drinking.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't thought about it once, so it's only been 3-4 days, so.
Yeah. No, it's good for you. Good for you. I support you. You do you.
Thanks, boo.
Yeah. Just don't push your thoughts and things on me.
No. Well, I'm not really doing this.
Unless it becomes a problem. Like if you're like, oh my gosh, she's out of control, then yes, please speak your mind on that. But if I like to enjoy the glass or 2 of wine in the evening, that's my choice. My body, my choice.
I got no problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing is, when I get obsessed with something, I would want to push on anyone who would want to listen. And you just happen to be
primarily me.
You just happen to be in proximity. So
yeah, you're like, hey, let's do keto. And I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. I guess we're doing this now. And guess what? You're the one that has to cook and prepare everything. I'm like, fuck, why did I agree to this?
Yeah. But that went with anything, like any new philosophy,
I know.
I mean, just anything, music, movies, authors, books, like I used to just push on you. And and
if I didn't like it, then you were like, oh, what's wrong with you?
Well, I'm right.
Like, I'm not ready for this. Like
that was my thought process is I'm bettering myself. So you should too.
Yeah. Why aren't you? Get on board.
Yeah, man. Just a lot of dumb mistakes from being young.
Instead of just letting people be who they want to be. Now, suggesting things, be like, hey, here's a cool book you should read. Here's what I got out of it. I'm open to that. I'll listen and be like, okay. And if it's something I feel is for me, I might check it out. But if it's not, I'll be like,
we have that.
Thanks.
We have that ability now. Like
we do. We have that rapport now.
It's just.
But
I know how to do that.
before, yeah, you'd get like angry if I wasn't like all in. Like,
yeah, like get on board.
I don't. Yeah.
I can't change anything. I can't change anything I've done.
I know.
All I can do is own it and do better.
Yes, I have forgiven you.
It's made me better.
Yes.
And that's the thing too, and I don't mean this as like any sort of disrespect, but because I actually like who I am now, like if you didn't forgive me, I would understand that and still be completely okay. Because I've owned it.
You've made amends with yourself.
Yeah, and I don't need the validation from others to feel validated.
Okay. Yeah. No, I forgive you. I never forget.
Yeah, it'd be hard to.
But I mean, it's not something that I dwell on or think about, honestly. Like, it's just like when we bring it up and we talk about it, like things like this,
right?
Those feelings and those emotions, they get kind of stirred back up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that son of a bitch did this. But then it passes. I'm like, okay, like we overcame it. There's no point in dwelling on it. Do you know what I mean? It was a long time ago now, I feel like, in our marriage. So
yeah, own it, move on.
Yeah, so much other stuff has happened that, yeah, I don't really like to dwell on that.
But I would like to say thank you for sticking with me and letting me be a dipshit and not holding it against me forever and ever. And it sucks that we're apart right now. But I miss you. I love you. I'll see you in like a week or so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, babe.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your story. It's not easy to talk about your weaknesses, but we overcame it. So
yep. Yeah.
It's testament that it can happen. You just got to put in the work.
But sounds like too much work.
Endure it. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode. We will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.